Hello everybody, it's Sarah and today I have my first video of 2019 for you, which of course is a wrap up of December of 2018. And then also at the very end of the video I want to draw my first 3 books from my TBR jar, cup, goblet, whatever it is. I still don't know. It's my cup. It's my TBR cup. I think that fits the best. Anyway, but I will do that at the end of the video. So first of all, I started last month with 3 rereads. First, I reread City of Ashes, which is the second book in the Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare. And then I reread Lady Midnight and Lord of Shadows, which are the first and the second book in the Dark Artifices, also by Cassandra Clare. And of course, they are all books in the Shadowhunters series. I originally said in November that I really felt like rereading the whole Shadowhunters Chronicles. However, after City of Ashes, Queen of Air and Darkness was actually published, and then all of Twitter went crazy, and so I was like, okay, no, I actually can't wait to finish the whole series before I get to Queen of Air and Darkness. I have to get to Queen of Air and Darkness now. However, since I did only read the other 2 books in the Dark Artifices series one time, I really wanted to reread Lady Midnight and Lord of Shadows first, just to kind of be updated again what happened and everything about the characters. I really enjoyed my reread. I enjoyed Lady Midnight, I think even more than the first time I read it. However, I did notice that the fact that I didn't enjoy Lord of Shadows as much as I usually enjoy a Cassandra Clare book was not just due to the fact that I first read it in the middle of my reading slump, but that it was just something else about it that I just couldn't vibe with properly. It was kind of a struggle for me to get through the reread, but I still read both of those books in one day, like in 2 days, like one day for each book, which is kind of crazy. I don't know why I did that, but yeah, I did. And then of course I went on to Queen of Air and Darkness, which is the 3rd book in the Dark Artifices series, which is also the last book in the Dark Artifices series. And the Dark Artifices, for those of you who don't know, is the 3rd series in Cassandra Clare's Shadowhunters Chronicles world. I won't talk too much about my thoughts on this book because I do still plan to film a review. I haven't gotten around to it. It has been almost a month since I read it now. I know, it's horrible, but I think I'll manage to get it up by next week. So for now, I'll just say that I did enjoy this book. I did not enjoy it as much as I enjoyed her other last books, but it might also be that I kind of grew out of YA, urban fantasy, romance stuff. I'm not really sure, honestly, but that might just be one of the reasons why I did not enjoy it as much as City of Heavenly Fire or Clockwork Princess. Okay, the next book kind of shows you a little bit that I can be a bit of an idiot, because I saw this book at my bookshop and I was like, ooh, this looks pretty. So I read the back and it says something about librarian spy on the back. So I was like, oh my god, I have to get this. And then I noticed that it's the 5th book in a series and I was like, why am I this stupid? It just, why? But to be fair, it doesn't obviously say that it's part of a series anywhere on the book, like not on the cover, not on the side. It says like in the blurbs, praise for the series in the back, but honestly after the summary I stopped reading. I don't look at the praise stuff, so I didn't see that. But yeah, anyway, I had the 5th book already, so I was like, fuck it, let's go get the 1st book. I'm still interested in seeing what this book about a librarian spy is about. And the 1st book in this series is The Invisible Library by Genevieve Cogman. I think the whole series is called The Invisible Library. Don't quote me on that though, I'm not 100% sure. And this series basically follows Irene, who is a junior librarian for the Invisible Library. And the Invisible Library is just an organization that collects outstanding works of fiction over different alternate realities. And Irene's job as a junior librarian is to travel to those alternate realities and to get those outstanding works of fiction. And this 1st book is just about her trying to get this special book, and when she tries to get it, she notices that it's gone and she's gonna try to find it, and there's intrigue and there's action and there's fun stuff, and I really, really enjoyed this book. Like, I really enjoyed it. It's not like the greatest novel ever, but especially if you're in a reading slump and you don't know what to pick up next, pick up this series. It's a really fast read, it's really short, it has really likable characters, there is some mystery involved as well, so that's always interesting. It plays in different alternate realities, which means you have some realities that are kind of futuristic, some are kind of like old school, some are very historical, and it's just overall a good ride. After The Invisible Library, I read Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Gnan. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that name, and I really, really enjoyed this book. This book has gotten a lot of hype on BookTube lately and in the past few months, and I think it's mostly deserved. I'm sure you've all heard of the plot. The plot is about Lei, who is one year chosen to be a paper girl, and basically what a paper girl is she's a girl that is chosen to become a concubine of the king for that year. And when she is chosen, she discovers some secrets, she discovers some intrigues, she discovers some things about herself she didn't know, and all that type of stuff. The basic summary is very much like The Wrath and the Dawn. However, I enjoyed this book a lot more than I did The Wrath and the Dawn. I think the thing that I enjoyed most about this book is that it's set in an Asian setting. So again, this is similarly to Children of Blood and Bone. It's a YA fantasy novel that is not set in your usual Middle Ages European setting, but it's a little bit different. And I think that always makes books more interesting. I had some issues at first because the names of the clothes as well as of the food was just like said as if we're supposed to know what that means. And at first I was like, well, at least use one sentence to describe what that is. And then I was like, okay, but a moment, like, in your usual fantasy setting, unless you have something that is very specific to a certain world, you also wouldn't explain what it is. So why should the author explain what certain foods are just because they're Asian inspired and not European inspired? And so I actually had a lot of fun during this book just googling the different garments, the different dresses, the different foods and what exactly they were. And I really enjoyed that, actually. The only thing I had some issues with were the plot pacing and also the pacing of the romance. Both of them had a very nice pace at the beginning. They were very slow. There actually wasn't a lot of like the intrigue or anything at the beginning of the book, and the romance was all just like glances and subtle touches and all that stuff. However, there was a point at the end from which on both the plot and the romance felt very rushed. Usually when you have a high fantasy book and you have like a long build up and then at the end there's a lot of action, there's a lot of plot, I don't really mind that. But most of the fantasy books that I read are 600 pages plus, like adult high fantasy. And I think most of the time that just works a little bit better with a slow build up and then an action-packed end than a book that's short like this one. So like the end just felt a bit rushed, and I would actually have preferred it if the book was a bit longer or if the beginning was more fast-paced as well, so it just balances it out a little bit. And the same with the romance, it was all slow at the beginning and then there was just a point where suddenly both of the characters that were part of the romance were like, oh my god, I'm gonna die without you, I love you until eternity. And I just thought that was a little bit unrealistic because it wasn't insta-love, but I also didn't see enough interaction between the characters to warrant such a change in their feelings for each other. Like an intense crush, okay, but not to the point that like they would die for each other. So yeah, those were the two things that I did not necessarily like, but otherwise I really enjoyed the characters. I really liked Lei, our main character. She was a little bit annoying sometimes, but it was an understandable annoying. I loved Ren. She is absolutely amazing. And yeah, I just really, really appreciated this book in general because it was something different that I have definitely not seen a lot of yet, even though the summary almost sounded exactly like The Wrath and the Dawn. So I can definitely recommend this book and definitely go and pick it up. The last book I read in December, or rather finished in December, was The Arcanum Unbounded by Brandon Sanderson, which of course is a bind-up of all of his novellas and short stories that take place in the Cosmere. And we actually get a lot more info on the Cosmere in this book, which I highly enjoyed and really loved. I started this book back in May, by the way. Like, I only had to finish 1.5 short stories last month. So it's not like I read the whole book last month. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. However, it has been some time since I read most of the Cosmere stuff, and I think I would have enjoyed it more if I had reread the whole Cosmere series and all of the books before I read this book, just so everything would have been more in my mind and more fresh in my mind. So when I hopefully reread the Cosmere this year, I plan on just rereading the accompanying short stories as they go, and hopefully then I will enjoy them a lot more, because like this, it was kind of hard to get through at times. The only short story I remember really enjoying was Mistborn: The Secret History, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but I think. And yeah, that was basically all I read this month. I did get started on Circe by Madeline Miller, but I only read like 20 pages in December. I am now already 180 pages in. I really enjoy it so far, but I'll tell you more in my January wrap-up about that one. So that was all for the books I read in December. So now let me go and draw my future reading. Just a little reminder again, I will draw 3 titles out of this cup, and I will read at least one of those books in January, maybe even all 3. But at least one of them. So let me go. Okay, the first one fell out. Let me just go with this one then. So the first book I have right here is The Magician's Apprentice by Trudy Canavan. I think I had this book on my shelf since it came out, which was when I was 14 or something, so almost 10 years on my shelf. But this is the first book in the prequel trilogy series to her Black Magicians trilogy. I still don't know what it's called in English. The Magician's Guild is the first book anyway. But yeah, that's the first book for this month. Then the second book. Here. The second book is a book I got for Christmas last year, like 2017, from my dad, with the words, "So that you can also read some proper literature, not just fantasy." And it's called Peter Holt, sein glückliches Leben erzählt von ihm selbst by Ingo Schulze. So it's a German book. The translation would be Peter Holtz and his happy life told by himself. And yeah, I don't really know what it's about, but I'll see if I get to it this month. And now the third one. Third one. So the third book I drew is Lady Gregory's Complete Irish Mythology. I think this will be one of the books where if I pick it up, I won't read the whole book because there are quite a few stories in there. However, I am currently taking my second semester in Irish, and we have to translate the Oisin, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, which is like Finn and the Fianna. And I think there might be that myth cycle, legend cycle in there. So since I have to translate it at the same time, I think I might just read that one if it's in there. If not, I'm sure there are some other myths that I'm quite interested in, or I'll just start from the very beginning. We'll see. So these are the 3 books where one of them will definitely be on my TBR in January. You will see at the beginning of next month which of them I actually picked up, so stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed this video, which I hope you did, please maybe think about leaving me a like and also subscribing. Leave me in the comments down below how your reading went in 2018, what you want to change for 2019, and what you read in December. Also, if you read any of the books that I have read or that I now plan on reading, leave comments down below what you thought of them. All the links to my social media, as always, are in the description box down below, so go and check those out, and I hope I'll see you soon. Bye!